And do you think the Civil War really brings those themes to the forefront?
Well, there are a lot of reasons why people study the Civil War. In fact, in some ways, the Civil War is as much studied today as it ever has been, even 150 years later. Part of the reason why the Civil War still attracts the interest and attention of not just scholars and students, but also ordinary citizens, is because of the massive suffering that the war represents. Previous wars in American history have almost exclusively taken part on foreign soil. And while not minimizing the loss of life that World War II represents, or America's involvement in World War I, or even the War of 1812 represents, the Civil War represents death and destruction on a scale beyond any comparison with any other war in American history. And in part, that's because it was fought on American soil. 9/11, when that horrific incident happened in Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C., and of course the Twin Towers in New York City, we as a people felt somehow violated, that we were unaccustomed to having the experience of war on our soil, in our backyards, in our cities. And in the Civil War, of course, that happened on a daily basis for 4 long years. But of course, there are many, many other reasons why we study the Civil War. One, there were questions that still emerged out of the Constitutional Convention that were not settled by the Constitutional Convention. All of those questions about slavery, about states' rights, about the right of a state to make different decisions than the federal government wanted it to make, all of those questions remained unsolved, unanswered by 1860. And to a significant extent, those questions were answered by the Civil War. Slavery, of course, with the 13th Amendment, meant that there would be no more slavery as a result of the end of the war. States would not have the right to secede or withdraw from the Union at will. So those questions were solved. But of course, new questions were brought up or arose even as old questions were answered. New questions like, would African Americans and white people in the United States be able to live together peacefully? Would they be able to work side by side, live in the same communities? And of course, until very recently, to a great extent, the answer to those questions were no. But even as the Civil War answered some questions, it resulted in creating new questions as well.